Gotta let the music play.
Oh, I just saw us pop up on the X.
You know?
Let me pop a quick RT on there. It looks very professional. It's a little bit laggy, though. Shit, I'm going to have to, yeah. No, that's not good. I can't watch us on the X while we're doing the show.
Not at all.
That's too much.
Here we are. Hi, guys.
Welcome to the It's Always Sunny in Cheese Kingdom live draft show. I don't have a teleprompter for this show, so who knows what's going to come out of my mouth. Here we are. It's pick 20. Wide receiver 4 is still on the board for Kansas City. Brian Thomas Jr. is still there. A.D. Mitchell is still there. We got a little bit of a run on tackles. But, man, the board is looking great for the Chiefs. I don't want to jinx anything because, you know, last year we were thinking when we went live, I remember going live last year around pick 20. Also, all the wide receivers still kind of on the board. And then,
they all got picked.
We still have got 11 picks to go.
Last year in the 20s.
But we are firmly in trade-up territory. Obviously, the Chiefs a couple years ago went up to 23 to get Trent McDuffie from the Bills. So, I mean, we're firmly in trade-up territory. And we should probably just get caught up on everything that sort of happened because we don't have the endurance. We don't have the draft expertise to be able to live stream for like 4 or 5 hours. That would be absurd. But what we can do is hit the highlights of what's already happened. So we should probably do that. Obviously, Caleb Williams, number 1 of the Bears. Who cares? NFC stock, not a surprise. Jaden Daniels to the Commanders, number 2. Who cares?
Sorry. Oh, yeah. I missed that.
Yeah. Jaden Daniels, number 2. Yeah. Who cares? Old, small, weak, whatever. He's in the NFC.
Who cares? The Commanders drafted a good quarterback anyway.
Exactly. Who cares? And you know what? It would be great if they did because he wouldn't be in the AFC. You know, Drake made it the Patriots. That's a little bit interesting, but that team is a long ways away from being competitive, even if Drake May is amazing, from the jump. I mean, that team, we're at least a couple years away from having to worry about them. Marvin Harrison, number 4. That's kind of fun. I mean, hey, it kept him away from the Chargers at number 5. There's a lot of speculation that if he was still on the board at number 5, that he might be the pick there, but instead they go Joe Alt. And listen, Joe Alt is great. Joe Alt's an amazing player. That offensive line is suddenly... I mean, it looks quite good. But on the other hand,
who are they going to throw to?
They literally don't. I mean, literally, they have a worse wide receiver room than the 2023 Chiefs.
Yeah.
And that's almost impossible. I mean, like a worse receiving room because they don't have Travis Kelce.
You remember the meme with Jamar Chase and the lineman protecting Joe Burrow throwing to no one?
Penei Sewell, yeah.
I mean, that's, Herbert throwing to no one. Good luck. It's going to be interesting.
It's going to be, really interesting. And then we had Malik Neighbors going to the NFC, so that's great. I mean, literally all 3 of the big 3 wide receivers going to the NFC. Yes. That's great. The top couple of quarterbacks going to the NFC. That's great. Titans stay home at pick 7 and take J.C. Latham, so another tackle off the board.
Who probably wanted Joe Alt. I would imagine they would have preferred the Chargers to pick a non-Joe Alt, and then the Titans to go with the best tackle there, but they settled for the second best tackle.
I mean, we're staying in the NFC, but we have to talk about what the Falcons did at 8 because it's so objectively, literally one of the most absurd draft picks of all time. Literally one of the weirdest things that any team has ever done in the draft. Troy Fontenot to the Steelers, offensive lineman. So they're at pick 20. So, I mean, Brian Thomas is still on the board.
Yeah.
A.D. Mitchell still on the board.
Now, the Dolphins, who are up next, they've been linked wide receiver quite heavily.
They have so many needs, though. I mean, maybe, but they still do have 2 great wide receivers, and they literally lost half of their defensive snaps last year. They're in cap hell. I don't know.
Sometimes you just have to pick one position and be extremely elite at that position. If they have,
especially when your QB is Tua.
Exactly. I mean, and if they have Tyreek and Waddle and then they go out and get Worthy, can you imagine Tyreek and Xavier Worthy on the same field? I mean, I have.
And Jalen Waddle.
Waddle. I mean, it'd be crazy.
Absolutely stupid. We'll say with Fontenot going off the board, I mean, the offensive line situation is starting to get a little bit. I mean, we're now down to tackle 8, I think, at this point.
That's right.
So that would be a little bit dicey. I wouldn't love that.
Sure.
But I really do the wide receiver situation literally could not be better. We had the 3 guys, the big 3 go in the top 10. And then after that, literally no one. That's crazy. So we were at 8. Michael Penix Jr. going to the team that just paid Kirk Cousins $160 million, and
4 years,
and they didn't tell him that they were going to do it until they were on the clock.
It's
That's
wild,
crazy.
Dude.
That's crazy. That's so crazy.
They fully guaranteed Kirk's deal, obviously, as Kirk is want to do with all of his deals. And now you've got a rookie in the top 10. When was the last time somebody, I won't be able to pull it, but somebody drafted a top 10 rookie quarterback and couldn't play him for 2 years?
I mean, Aaron Rodgers, with Jordan Love, probably.
In the late, Rodgers was a late first-round pick. Remember, he was the last.
No. I mean, when they drafted Jordan Love. With Rodgers still under contract.
And Love went. Love was
that was also
20s,
like
right?
20. He was picked 25th or 26th. Yeah,
sure.
Yeah, late 20s.
Getting a guy at 8 that you do not expect to need for 2 whatever years, that's crazy. Why Roma Dunze was available, and I know they've picked, Pitts and London in the last 2 years in the top 10. But like, why wouldn't you just continue to stack those playmakers for Kirk Cousins?
Like, why wouldn't you pay for? I mean, if you're going to pay
pick
Kirk
a tackle
Cousins,
do whatever, but instead they picked a backup quarterback.
Take the number 1 defensive player who didn't end up going until whatever
maybe
it was 13.
Maybe they'll trade.
But can they with all the dead cap? I mean, surely.
Well, I'm thinking. Maybe they'll trade
Penix
or Penix.
Yeah,
I don't know. I don't know what the plan is.
It's crazy. I mean, we obviously that would make no sense, but neither would just drafting Penix. And Penix is almost 24. So it's not like
he's going to be like 20.
It's not like it makes that much. He's going to be 28. Our friend Rainey Gisarli, who's going to be on the podcast next week. If we can swing that.
Yeah,
reached out this week.
He's ready to roll.
He tweeted that by the time Kirk Cousins' contract expires, Penix is going to be the same age as Patrick Mahomes was this year, going into the playoffs.
Yeah,
and Patrick Mahomes is a 7-year veteran and a 3-time Super Bowl champion.
And the GOAT. Literally the GOAT.
So that's pretty wild.
Yes.
But let's fast forward here to obviously Odunze to the Bears, J.J. McCarthy to the Vikings in a 1-spot trade up, and then Oli Fashanu, offensive tackle from Penn State, to the Jets. And that put us with the Broncos on the clock. And
what happened there, buddy?
So it was already a record to have 5 quarterbacks go this early. And in fact, I think 5 was the record for the first round. I think that's right.
5 in the first 10 picks was the record.
And the Broncos had the opportunity to do the funniest thing ever, which was to draft 24-year-old Bo Nix as QB6 with the 12th overall pick in the draft. And by God, they did it. Those crazy sons of a bitches. They drafted Bo Nix with the 12th overall pick. Now listen, I mean, Bo Nix is he fine? He's fine. He got a 2nd to 3rd round grade from Dane Brugler. He was the QB5 on Dane's big board, but taking that guy with the 12th overall pick, what a gift! Oh my God.
They talked about how Sean Payton had never drafted a quarterback in the first 2 rounds. That was one of the, commonly talked about things. And I just feel like the Broncos, they still don't know what they're doing, even after all this time. And drafting the 6th quarterback is one thing. If you want to spend your 2nd or 3rd round pick on QB6 in the draft and hope he turns into something, that's fine. But you had way too many needs on this roster to be picking Bo Nix with the 12th overall pick. Why didn't they trade the pick? Bo Nix would have been there. He would have been there later.
Especially since every other team other than the Raiders that needed a QB in the first round literally took a QB ahead of you.
That's right.
And the Vikings went up and got in front of you. The Falcons shocked the world by taking Penix 8. But you were the only team left that had any chance of taking Bo Nix in the first round, I feel like, unless the Raiders were going to do it at 13.
Trashman says the Raiders. Shout out Kaka to Trashman. Just know, I just want to know what Falcons Twitter looks like tonight.
It's I follow 4 Verts, Charles McDonald.
Yeah.
And he's a Falcons fan. I mean, I'm legitimately concerned for his health and safety at this point. I mean, I just that is quite literally the craziest draft pick ever. I mean, it's legitimately insane. I can't even believe that actually happened.
To be not in the position the Chiefs are in is pretty hard to put myself in that mindset as a fan. Having so many needs, sucking, being, just all the things that go into all these people that are watching the draft tonight that are not watching the best, like everything we do is gravy. It doesn't matter if the Chiefs could literally be like, we don't actually want to pick at 30. We're just not going to pick. And like, they're probably still going to win the Super Bowl even with that move. Like, things are fine here. And it just feels like all these other teams are in panic mode. So many of these AFC teams especially know how big of a mountain it is to climb to keep up with the Chiefs. And the NFC teams are probably just like, we're like the second fiddle conference right now because the best team is over there. And it just is, it's rough. Justin, did you guys see the Quick Trip thread of team needs at every spot? Sums up what you're feeling right now. I didn't see the thread, but it's exactly the way that I'm feeling. It's just the Chiefs are chilling. What would you say? I mean, yeah, wide receiver, sure, but there's a billion good wide receivers in this draft. So
and we haven't seen a single cornerback go off the board yet. I mean, obviously that's a position that the Chiefs could be interested in taking. I'm a little bit surprised that we haven't gotten the Dolphins pick yet. They just tweeted out, their official count just tweeted out, lock it in, but I haven't seen it spoiled yet. If somebody in the chat has seen it, feel free to shout it out there. But then we've got the Eagles after that. And surely the Eagles, who just paid AJ Brown today and just paid Devonta Smith or a couple weeks ago,
extended both of them.
Surely they're not going to take a wide receiver, right? Like,
I'd be shocked.
I mean, maybe they could, and but surely not. I mean, I'd be stunned after the amount of money they've invested and the draft capital, because obviously they traded a first rounder for AJ Brown and they spent the 10th overall pick on Devonta Smith. I mean, you can always have more pass catchers, but that team doesn't really need more pass catchers.
No,
I would be really surprised if that's the direction
they need to replace their Hall of Fame center.
They sure
they've got other needs. Their defense was terrible last year.
They're not going to go wide receiver. To the Dolphins at 21, Penn State defensive end.
Okay,
that's interesting. Sure. I mean, I think we expected him. I don't know. That's maybe a little bit earlier than I would have anticipated.
Sure.
But I think it makes sense. Like I said, I mean, for the Dolphins having lost, obviously, when the Chiefs played them last year in the playoffs, it was a little bit of a strange situation because they were decimated with injuries. But a lot of those guys are gone, and they lost, obviously, what's his name to the Raiders this offseason, interior guy, but obviously
Christian Wilkinson.
Christian Wilkins. That's
yeah,
you got it. I mean, they've got some holes to fill on the defense, so it makes sense. And he was Dane's edge 4, so first second round grade for Chop from Dane Brugler, the Athletic.
Speaking of grades, everybody said there were about 13 to 15 first round grades that every team has. That's kind of the, once you get out of that top 15, you're not finding a ton of first round grades anywhere else. So, I think they made with that what they could. We've got the Eagles on the clock now at 22, like you said.
I'm honestly shocked that we haven't seen another wide receiver go since the top 10. I mean,
it's so deep that I wonder if all of these first round teams are thinking somebody's going to be there in the second or third that we still really like. Like, it's almost so deep that it's becoming deeper.
Well, and I mean, really, once we got past, the Saints were always going to take a tackle at 14, right? I mean, really, those teams are not that they weren't wide receiver needy, because God knows the Broncos certainly could have used a real wide receiver, but they also needed a quarterback, and they had to take QB6 at pick 12. We're going to keep circling back to that one, friends, because that's just the gift that's going to keep on giving for days. Check out my Twitter tomorrow, because I will definitely be tuning in to local sports talk radio in the morning.
Always love those videos.
I have a feeling that will
driving
be
to
extremely
work
fertile. Yeah, right, exactly.
Yeah.
I do have to go into the office to pick up my badge from the temporary workspace tomorrow, so that'll be fun. Yeah. For those of you who don't know, my building has been closed thanks to a terrorist attack on the first of the year, so it's all good. We're still waiting on the Eagles pick, and again, I mean, if they don't take a wide receiver,
now you're talking about
you're
Jags,
definitely in trade-up
Cowboys. Oh, trade range. Sure. You're at 23. And if the Chiefs want to jump up for Brian Robinson, or, whatever their plan is.
Brian Robinson. I
think that's
Brian Thomas, you mean?
Yeah. Oh,
Brian
yeah.
Thomas.
Not Washington running back Brian Robinson. Yes, correct. if the Chiefs want to draft or trade up for him, that's, I don't know, maybe the best case scenario available to the Chiefs. Who do you think the best player on the board that you would be like, that's number one? If I could do anything to get that player right now, it's probably him.
It's
yeah.
Sure it is. I mean, this is the consensus wide receiver 4, and I know there were some evaluators, and maybe they're taking a little bit of crazy pills. But
somebody on the comments, Marvin, says Chiefs Twitter posted Mitch Holt is saying they're about to announce our pick.
What?
I had not
about to in like an hour.
I don't know. Or did we trade up? Let's see what
I haven't seen.
That's the one thing about talking back and forth with you and I is there is breaking news going on that we.
Yeah, I just kind of try and check Twitter when you're talking and vice versa. But yeah,
he's right. Someone else said he's right.
Wow.
False alarm, clickbait tweet headline. My bad. All right. Thanks, Marvin. I appreciate you trying to keep us posted. I know there's tons of clickbait. What is happening indeed?
Appreciate it, Trash Man.
Yes, Kaka. But we do appreciate. I would much rather have false alarms and stuff like that brought to our attention so we can.
Oh yeah, like we're not talking over the
chase them down. Exactly. Yeah.
I mean, we are now again. I mean, we're at 22 again. McDuffie was 23 overall, so or 23.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Or he was low 20s. All right, let's see. Trent McDuffie. This is stuff that we would not be doing on the podcast. Pick 21st. We were both wrong.
What?
Yeah.
Well, we're doing it. We're doing it live.
Yeah. Justin says he's going to get totally blindsided if he makes a trade because he's on Hulu.
I can't believe.
Hulu has live sports, Justin.
I like I don't like the idea of picks being spoiled, but like the NFL makes it so hard to watch the live broadcast because it's so far behind what's happening on Twitter. Like
I also think that watching Roger Goodell announce the pick is not the draw of the draft.
Right. No.
The draw is the information.
Right.
The draw is the news. And if someone has the news before Raj does, I want to hear it. That's I don't really care. That'd be like if free agency was Roger Goodell making like announcements saying like the Chiefs have traded for. I don't care. I just want to know the news.
Right.
So,
what's crazy is that we still have only lost one guy off of our draft, and that is Mims, who went
we kind of targeted late.
Well, sure, of course,
guys and tackles and receivers, except for one pick by you. Right. But all of those are now to the point where pretty much everybody for the next. Any tackle or wide receiver that goes at this point is probably going to be one of our guys.
It's crazy.
It
also feels like the draft is really slowed down. Why is it taking so long now? I feel like the first.
That's because we started talking. We were just staring at it, and it felt like it was going along. And now that you and I are talking, we gotta draw out the all the slow. Just to recap our draft, where you and I decided to pick guys that we were gonna hope that the Chiefs picked or predict that the Chiefs picked. You picked Ladd McConkey first. I went back-to-back with A.D. Mitchell and Amarius Mims, who's the only player off the board since he picked him at 18. You went with Tyler Guyton and Xavier Worthy. I went Keon Coleman and Kingsley Sumatia. You went Kool-Aid McKinstry, coolest name ever, and Jalen Polk. Yeah. And then I finished with Ricky Pearsall.
The Texans, who don't have a first-round pick, have been working the phones trying to get in the first round.
Good luck.
Now, that is a team that definitely does not need a wide receiver.
Nope.
I mean, they've got Tank Dell.
Yep.
They've got Nico Collins. They've got Stephon Diggs.
That
team is not trading up.
Maybe they're trying to trade Stephon Diggs to get into the first round. Maybe that's their game plan there. But if the Texans get into the first round, the only thing I worry about there is like we can't let them get much better at any position. Like
that's
the Texans
true.
are
they're like the second best team in the AFC.
I think so.
I mean, they actually might.
And by definition, they might be the second best team in the NFL because everybody knows everything runs through.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to be. I mean, I get it. Like I've every time I post something good about the Texans, people remind me that they got blown out by the Ravens and then we beat the Ravens. So like, are they really on that tier? Okay, I get it, but like the Ravens have gotten worse. Look, the Ravens are not going to be as good next year. They're replacing half the defense. They lost both of their coordinators, and I mean that was C.J. Stroud as a rookie, and they added Stephon Diggs, and I mean.
They were not ready to go deep in the playoffs at their build last year, but they were ready to be dangerous. And then now they're a year older. They've got that swagger of a team that feels that they should be competing with the best of the best. I mean, all it takes is that group of guys to get together and be like, hey, guys, we're like supposed to be here. We're supposed to win playoff games. We blew the hell out of the Browns last year in the playoffs, put up a 50 burger on them. Like they're confident. I liked Trashman here. If we draft Kool-Aid McKinstry and we wear our red on red unis, he is literally the Kool-Aid man.
That would be good. Question for you. Do you know how much you weighed as a baby?
Not a clue in the world.
I think I was 6-ish pounds, pretty small baby.
I probably could do an ish.
Yeah, 6-ish. Well, okay. I asked because somebody just tweeted Chop Robinson's weight as a baby, and it's an absurd number.
Huge, like
no, it was 14 pounds. It's literally like, I don't understand how that's even possible for a human baby to weigh 14 pounds.
How did he get out of it?
How is that possible? Right. Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Physiologically, that seems like it would be.
Wonder if his mom's a big girl because.
Yeah, she'd have to be.
She'd have to be.
Quinyon Mitchell to the Eagles.
Okay.
Interesting. Yeah.
Okay.
So first TV off the board.
Where are you getting your alerts from?
I dabble.
You got a list?
No, I have. I just have Twitter up, and
and
you just gotta follow the right people.
Just sure. So I've got a list.
Actually, Pretty Ricky popped that out there.
I'm very interested to see. Now he put out a bunch of draft predictions, and I have not double checked his work to see who he was expecting and predicting and all that stuff. This was I forget who said it on Twitter, but someone said this is a legacy making night for Pretty Ricky because he also he put out 10 different things that he guaranteed were going to happen, and if they all happen,
they probably haven't. But also, if they did, good for him.
So
everybody kind of broke that at once. But Quinyon Mitchell,
Toledo cornerback.
Right.
A guy that we'll start doing a little bit of our live readings from our holy books of draft guides.
Holy tomes, sure.
Exactly. So Quinyon Mitchell had a first round grade by the KCSN draft guide, second cornerback overall after Terrion Arnold, who has not been picked yet.
That's where Dane had him as well.
And
Dane Brugler had him second behind Terrion Arnold also.
And he's 6 foot, exactly 195. A guy that.
Yeah, he ran a 4.3, and he's 6 foot 195, which is, a good size for a corner in the 2024 NFL. A guy that runs a 4.3 at that size. Toledo, not a big college program, but I know a lot of guys that were really impressed by his ability. And the Eagles, it kind of fits a type, right? Like they like freaky athletes, and they get to take the first cornerback off the board. So good for them. Yes. It is interesting because that obviously still leaves the Chiefs with, virtually their pick of the DB department. We've got the Jags on the clock now. Mm-hmm. And, they could go in a bunch of different directions. But Quinyon Mitchell.
First, Howie Roseman, cornerback drafted in the first round. He's never done that before. Howie.
Interesting.
And player comp from KCSN on him was Darius Slay. That's
they've got Darius Slay, and now they've got Darius Slay 2.0
at home. Yeah,
Darius Slay at home.
Yeah.
We've got the Jags on the clock, and let's just kind of spin through what we've got between us and in our pick here. So we've got the Jags. Mm-hmm. I feel like the Jags certainly could go with a wide receiver because obviously they had that well publicized debacle where they tried to bring back Calvin Ridley, and weren't able to do it, and tried to game the system so that they would give up a lower draft pick and then let him go to the Titans for $1 billion.
Right.
And right now their wide receiver one is
Christian Kirk.
Yeah, no, well, Christian Kirk or Gabe Davis.
Gabe Davis. Gabe Davis is no one's wide receiver one.
Yeah.
It's Christian Kirk.
Either way, they definitely could take a wide receiver. Then we've got the Cowboys, who probably are not going wide receiver. I would think that they're probably going to go with offensive line. But they've got we've now got a lot. We've got a lot of offensive linemen off the board. So
correct.
Now the value there is starting to get a little bit sketchy. We obviously, we're looking at guys like Tyler Guyton and Kingsley Suniata and those types of players who could still be available. We still got 10 picks to go. But after the Cowboys, you've got the Packers. The Packers famously never draft wide receivers in round one, so we're probably safe there. Then you got the Bucks.
They're due to draft one in round 1, right?
Yeah, probably. I mean, yeah. Well,
especially
the Packers.
when
I mean,
Rodgers left,
also,
and they immediately got Jordan Love some help and
Christian
Watkins in the second.
Have a bunch of good wide receivers, and they didn't invest a lot of draft capital.
That's true.
I mean,
that's true.
They've got a lot of dudes over there, so I don't know that that's. It certainly is not their biggest need.
No,
we're probably not going to see another tight end go in the first round, and we're almost certainly not going to see a running back go in the first round. So
definitely no tight ends. Maybe a running back late. I mean,
we got the Bucks at 26.
Yep.
We signed Baker Mayfield to an extension.
Yep.
I mean, they still got Mike Evans, although obviously he's getting up there in age, and they've got Godwin. Yeah. Chris Godwin. So I mean, they could potentially go to wide receiver, but I don't know. I mean, we're really down to, of all the teams between now and when the Chiefs pick. I mean, really, it's the Bills. And the Cardinals already took Marvin Harrison.
Yes,
it's the Bills. Correct. It's maybe the Lions. It's maybe the Ravens. It's maybe the 49ers. I mean, this could come down to we're 4 picks away.
Right.
And then we see a run right before the Chiefs pick.
And they're all looking at us. All these teams down at the bottom of the draft are all the people that we've ripped their hearts out. You've got Bills and Ravens and Niners, all the playoff teams that we beat last year. So, they're all sitting there going, whatever we can all get together. They probably all called each other and got on a conference call and said, look, whatever we can do to prevent the Chiefs from getting anybody good here. But maybe the Cardinals will let us trade up to 27. They don't really hate us.
Sure. I mean, they shouldn't care at all.
No, they're far away from competing with us. And if they trade up to 27, they're trading up in front of the Bills. Trashman points that out too, who would be hilarious.
I mean,
to trade up in front of them and then get, I guess if Brian, I mean, I tell you, I don't know what's going to happen here, but it's about to get extremely interesting with these next couple picks.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. I mean, and again, we still have Pretty Ricky says that the,
what's he say?
Jags took Brian Thomas Jr., which would make sense, but I have not seen that confirmed yet.
Yeah, but Pretty say it is.
I mean, it would make total sense. Obviously, consensus wide receiver 4. We'll see. Everybody is. Yep, it looks like that is confirmed.
Yep.
Brian Thomas. Yep.
Well,
that's a bummer.
That is a bummer, but I never really expected him. I thought he would have to be a trade up to the 20 range to get. I definitely thought that he was right there at the. Just out of the reach of the Chiefs.
Yeah,
you're looking at Adonai Mitchell, Lad McConkey, Xavier Legette, Xavier Worthy, Ricky Pearsall. Those are the kind of Keon Coleman is on that board. Jalen.
I mean, the wide receiver board is still great.
Those aren't all necessarily first round grade guys, but they are all really nice players. And I think if the Chiefs if there's a run here right in front of them at wide receiver, then they're probably going to go to tackle. I would think.
I would not be stunned if that were the case. But listen,
Tyler Guyton from Oklahoma.
If there's a run on wide receivers at this point, there's already kind of been a run on tackles. I mean, I know that we both love offense, and it's more fun and it's way more cool than defense.
Yeah.
But I mean, shoot, you might get CB3, or whatever. I mean, you could get a really good defensive back at 32 if that is how this plays out. Now, obviously, there's still a chance that wide receiver kind of simmers a little bit. It took
Cooper
a while.
DeJean's there.
Cooper DeJean is still there. It'd be interesting to see if he sticks in the first round. There was some talk about him slipping down the boards a little bit. Did you see his little viral clip about Caitlin Clark today?
No, but it was
apparently a bunch of teams. Well, I don't know if it is bad. I don't know enough about basketball to speak to this, but
I do.
Apparently, a bunch of teams were asking him whether he could beat Caitlin Clark 1-on-1 in basketball, and he said he feels like he would beat her 1-on-1 in basketball. I mean. Again, well, yeah, I agree, and I mean the range. I mean, if you're a woman going against a man, I think the range is crucial.
We're not talking about football either.
He's bigger, he's faster, right? I mean, it's her sport. Now he was a great basketball player in high school, but he hasn't played basketball, and this is the greatest women's college basketball player of all time.
Ever.
Yeah, right. So anyway, he was telling teams apparently that he feels like he would win, and she might get some buckets on him, but that's cornerback behavior, to be fair. That is
Yes, it is.
You know,
it's confidence. It's him
peacocking,
stirring the pot.
Sure.
It's interesting that he was an Iowa player. Now, if this had been
that's why they were asking.
I know, but like if this had been another guy and who was a hooper in high school and he was just from another college,
he's white and he's a white cornerback. Like I feel like this
he's already got the swagger.
It's all part of the mix.
Yes, he's already got the swagger of being the only white cornerback the NFL's had in 20 years, and so that's an interesting controversy for sure. But he's on the board right now. He's a kind of a guy that I could certainly see going here in the next couple picks. Terrion Arnold, a lot of people CB1 still on the board right now.
Still on the board, yep.
Kool-Aid McKinstry still on the board. 2 Alabama cornerbacks.
Nate Wiggins, the Clemson cornerback, he's number 3 on Dane Brugler's big board at cornerback. So I mean, there almost certainly will be a chance to get one of the top cornerbacks the way this is playing out. You mean there could be a run on wide receivers, certainly. There could be a run on cornerbacks. There could be a run on tackles, but there can't be a run on all 3. So
that's right.
I still like the way that the board is shaping up. Tackle's getting a little bit thin, but you do have, kind of some of those more developmental guys, whether it be Guyton, whether it be a guy like Sumiata, Kingsley. I'm going to call him Kingsley. I know that's a little bit informal, but it's easier than saying Sumiata.
We don't do that here.
We don't do that.
I think it's really interesting how even with the Jags going wide receiver there's still enough people that the Chiefs have been kind of linked with / mocked, between the Texas wide receivers, Ladd McConkey, those 3 right there. Adonai Mitchell, Xavier Worthy, and Ladd McConkey are 3 that you saw all over the place drafted to the Chiefs or mocked to the Chiefs. And they're all still on the board here.
And let me say about Ladd, by the way, I'm not going to pretend to know more than the KCSN guys. I certainly don't. But I will say it's interesting to hear, I like to get a diverse portfolio of opinions about draft prospects. And I will say Nate Tice was on the PFF podcast yesterday, I think it was. And they were talking about Ladd McConkey. And I mean, they all see him as an outside wide receiver. And we talked about this last week when we were doing our draft. That is primarily where he played in college, was more on the outside. That's where he ran most of his routes. And both Nate and the PFF guys see him more as an outside wide receiver and are less concerned about him being more of a slot-only player, which I know is KCSN's major gripe with Ladd McConkey, is that he struggles against press. Okay, well, I mean, most college wide receivers are going to struggle against press. You kind of have to get into the league, get those reps against it. You're not seeing NFL corners playing press against you very often in college. You don't get very many reps against it. I mean, Tyreek was awful against press when he came in. And then, I mean, he's still, you stick L'Jarius Sneed on him and strap up, it still didn't go great for him. Yeah. But, I mean, we've also seen him absolutely dust people playing press against him. You have to kind of press him, but with his speed, it's hard to do. I mean, Ladd McConkey's an athlete. I think I have fewer concerns about that after, kind of hearing that discussion. I mean, I think there's a legitimate chance that he could work out there and the Chiefs could make that work. Sure. I think there's a really good chance that he's going to be available. So it'll be interesting to see if that's something that the Chiefs are interested in doing.
Our guy, Josh Briscoe, says it's very exciting that the Chiefs should be able to get their pick of running backs at 32.
Man, so our first draft show ever was the Clyde Edwards-Helaire draft.
It was.
And we weren't doing a cool stream like we are doing now because we were small time then. Now,
that's right. Now we're big time.
Big time.
But
shout out to Fansided, by the way.
That's right. Yeah, I don't know what all I'm going to do with the video stuff, with the ads. I mean, we'll for YouTube, it's just going to be this live coverage. But for audio, for you audio listeners later on, there probably are some worked in ads in here. But the Clyde show, as you were saying, was a surprise.
Oh, huge shock.
Huge surprise. One that we kind of got on board with at the time, as you do. But that was a weapon, which was exciting. We thought we drafted the LSU version of Clyde and not the Chiefs version of Clyde.
Right.
But it was fun to imagine what he could have been in the offense, and then things happened.
Sure, and now he's back. So, now he's
back from outer space.
We get to keep We got to keep dreaming. The Chiefs just posted a picture of the draft room. Said in there scheming.
Yeah, it's good.
What's he doing in that coil?
What is he doing in there? I wonder if they don't care at all about what's happening. I mean, as far as like, I wonder how they handle being on draft night.
I don't know. It's a really good question.
Pressure-filled, several hours where trades can happen that throw off your plans and guys can get picked ahead of where
Cowboys are trading down.
From 24. Who are they trading down?
Does not say yet who they're trading down to.
Who are you seeing saying they're trading down?
Everybody on Twitter just said they're trading down.
Okay.
So.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. I wonder if the Bills are going up. I bet this is the Bills. I bet this is the Bills going up to take a wide receiver. That's my prediction. I don't know if I don't know if that's the case. I bet it'll be A.D. Mitchell if they go up. Okay. That's my prediction. I don't know if that's gonna. That's my official prediction. We'll see what it'll be. I mean, obviously, A.D. Mitchell, sort of the consensus wide receiver 5 right in there. The KCSN guys were a little bit lower on him.
Mm-hmm.
But let's see. Oh, what? What? Are they trading with? The Lions. Wow. The hometown crowd. Wow, that'll be fun.
Yes. I'm sure that got a pop.
Well, this will be an interesting.
The crowd goes wild, is what Rap Sheet said.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure they're going nuts out there, and I will definitely go back and rewatch the live coverage. We obviously don't do that. Will work. Terrion Arnold for the Lions.
Yeah, good pick for them.
Yeah, good player.
Good cornerback available
Obviously, the consensus cornerback won, the CB2 off the board, but I mean, good player, and the Lions have needed a cornerback. I mean, and they really need a cornerback. Whatever happened with their wide receiver or their cornerback that got arrested and had a warrant out for his arrest? Whatever happened to that?
Was he actually on the team, or was it former Lions?
Did he get cut?
I thought he got cut before even the warrant. I don't really remember now who that Cam something.
Cam Sutton.
Isn't there another Cam Sutton?
Former Lions cornerback, but I think he was at their facility when the warrant went into effect. So I think they cut him.
The Steelers guy?
Same guy. Yeah, that is right.
Yeah, same guy. Okay.
Same guy. I think they released him after the warrant went out for his arrest. Yeah. So I mean, that's not super surprising.
No.
They really needed a cornerback, and a lot of people had connected them to Snead. And obviously they didn't get Legarius, so they go out and get Terrion Arnold. I mean, he would have been a player that I would have liked to see, but wouldn't have expected the Chiefs to have been in range to draft. Man. So here we are. Now we've got the Packers. The Packers on the clock. Feel very confident this is not going to be a wide receiver unless somebody comes up.
Warren Sharp with the banger. Remember when Skip Bayless tweeted "all in my ass" and everybody made fun of him because he didn't comma. He quoted the Cowboys are trading down from 24, and Warren said "all in my ass."
All in my ass.
That's some good stuff.
All up in there. Boy. Cooper DeJean still on the board, obviously. There's only 4 wide receivers off the board. I'm honestly shocked by that. And we still have some teams that are wide receiver needy. Like, obviously, I'd be stunned if the Bills didn't take a wide receiver. I wouldn't be super shocked if the Ravens took a wide receiver. And we've heard some rumors that the 49ers have had some conversations about Ayuk, and maybe they don't want to trade or maybe pay him.
Yes, they've also had conversations about Debo. The Niners have.
Right, exactly. If they wanted to, and it kind of makes sense because eventually they're going to have to pay Mr. Irrelevant, Mr. Brock Purdy. It's still a year away from that contract and a couple years away from any serious money kicking in there. But, I mean, they've paid, their roster is frankly absurd. Like, the number of good non-quarterback players that they've paid top of market deals is crazy.
Yep.
And they could use an infusion of cheap talent there. Now, what's interesting is the rumor that was coming out was that maybe they would look to trade Ayuk to move up, and that obviously didn't happen. And now we're in a situation where, they'd only be able to go up 6 picks. They're probably not going to trade him to do that. So, I don't know.
I don't either. I was checking Twitter, and the link that had our video has been removed.
Oh, no. Are we still live?
Our live stream on Twitter. I mean, obviously we are on YouTube for sure.
Of course, well, sure.
But I thought I had this thing hooked up fine. Maybe
it's probably Elon's fault.
Elon probably knows.
He's probably censoring us.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, honestly, the Ukraine flag in bio, he's not a big fan of that. That's definitely triggering him, and it's definitely triggering everybody who paid $8 for his check mark because they come on and tell me about that constantly.
Yes. Seth Kaiser said, "Give me Mitchell or Worthy at 32." So he's
definitely
he's all in that. I hadn't looked over at the chat for a second. Z-Man, what up, buddy? Kaka, welcome to the show. I am so interested in this next run of couple.
Me too.
Green Bay, Tampa Bay.
Tyler Dunn, who does a lot of work with the Bills, he wrote that Sammy Watkins long read with the Space Aliens thing.
Yeah. Love that.
And wrote the Sean McDermott piece about 9/11 last year.
Gotcha.
He says Xavier Worthy still at play for the Bills and the Chiefs.
What?
Xavier Worthy still in play for the Bills and the Chiefs.
Sure. I mean, he's on the board.
Sure. He's on the board.
So, he's in play for everybody.
He's very much in play.
Yeah.
I don't know. That would thrill me, but only because, how can you not be thrilled about the fastest man in NFL Combine history? Who's good at playing wide receiver?
I always like an elite trait. I like to be able to do something better than anybody else can do it. And if that's taking the fastest player and having him do Tyreek Hill stuff and run behind the defense, that worked really well for the Chiefs. That worked really well for the Dolphins to have Tyreek Hill. And I know that not every fast wide receiver is Tyreek Hill. Trashman, there's a 9 out of 11 chance that the Bills take a wide receiver. Yeah, that's yep.
I can't believe that guy still has a job, by the way. I know that we've talked about this a few times, but
McDermott?
Yeah. That's crazy to me. I mean, he's not – I don't think he's a good coach. And also, I mean, the results have not been there. And
no, they haven't. That's true.
It's just hard to not get to a Super Bowl with Josh Allen and lose some of the worst, most heartbreaking games in the NFL over the last several seasons. Still have a job. It's weird to me.
You're right.
And on top of that, he's a fucking weirdo who, used the 9/11 hijackers as an inspirational speech. What is he bringing to the table?
I was trying to chase down what happened with our X post, and I refreshed, and it's back. So I don't know if they the one guy that runs all the mechanical stuff at X was taking a smoke break, but. The one comment on there is this guy, Ty Codgel, that said, "I am terribly disappointed to learn Real Bird Lawyer isn't actually Charlie Kelly." You get that quite a bit.
Yeah, I do get that quite a bit. And people that listen to the podcast are upset that I don't sound like him. Yeah. I don't even really have the ability to sound like him. Yeah, right. You're not the same person. I wish that I was. It would be a cool thing. Could be cool. But no. Looks like the Packers pick is in. Let's see who that's going to be. Again, there's it would be super funny if they took a wide receiver, but
first for everything.
There's no way. Arizona offensive tackle Jordan Morgan. Interesting.
Jordan Morgan.
Interesting.
What do we know about
that is really. I'm a little bit surprised.
Tackle 4.
And
interior offensive line.
Dane has him as a guard.
He's not a tackle.
And I think there are teams that view him potentially as a guy that could play outside, but he's got 32 and 7/8 arms. So he's got the T-Rex arm.
Yeah. KCSN 4th interior offensive lineman, and the first 3 have not gone off the board yet.
Yeah, Dane has him as guard 2 behind Troy Fontenot, who obviously has already gone to the Steelers, and who people also guard. Well, so Dane has him listed as a guard. He does have 34.5-inch arms, which is now getting into, that's the range where more teams would have him on the board as potentially as a tackle.
Yeah.
But yeah, Jordan Morgan, I don't think he was somebody that we considered for the Chiefs at all. So in my mind, that's a good pick for the Chiefs as far as their board.
Hell yeah. Anybody that we were not.
The Chiefs definitely would not have a guy with that short of arms playing tackle. Nope. I don't remember off the top of my head what Mitch Schwartz's arm length was, but as our KCSN guys are fond of saying, Mitch Schwartz was a guy that had already proven that he could play in the league with that arm length, and that's kind of why the Chiefs were more willing to take him. And still, that was shorter than the Chiefs prefer a tackle. They were willing to do it because he had shown with the Browns that he was able to play in the league.
Yeah, they didn't draft him there. Right, exactly. It's way different to watch.
And that's still an inch on Jordan Morgan. So
yep. Yep.
Interesting. That's a really interesting pick. And
fine
it
for
kind
us.
of fits with the Packers mold of taking the most useless. I mean, he probably will be a good player, but like
sure. You're going with like a undersized guard at 24,
right. A guard.
25.
Yeah, you're taking a guard in the first round.
I'm not into that.
Sure.
Justin wants you to grow a beard at least, Austin.
I literally am incapable of growing a beard. I couldn't do it, and I probably could do it, but it would take like the amount of time I would have to invest in doing it. It would be so gross in the meantime that as a married man, I simply can't. No. I simply can't take that. Yeah, I can't. If my wife ever goes on like a 2-month vacation, I think the longest I've gone is probably like maybe like a week and a half, and when she's on vacation and I'm not working, and it's
a little patchy nothings. Z-Man does say he hears you burn your trash to heat your house, though. So you are similar to Charlie in that manner.
The heat is rising up here.
Really?
So if you guys see me getting a little famously,
he's worked up from the draft.
Famously, the third floor of Birdlaw Manor here is not climate controlled, and so on some, you're very good about editing this out, and usually it doesn't create a problem. But I've not turned the fan on because sometimes the fan can be audible.
Yeah.
And we're not going to do that. But I had to put on the jersey, and I'm just going to suffer through it. So, it's fine. I'm doing it for you, for the people. You hung the jerseys.
My two Mahomes jerseys, my Mahomes Royals jersey and my Mahomes Chiefs jersey.
I'm glad to see our Royals back on a nice little mini run after their little miniature slump. And,
they're going to be fine. I don't think they're going to set the world on fire this year, but they're certainly not embarrassing. I just wanted them to not be the worst team in baseball. That's what I wanted, and they're fine. They're doing okay.
So we've got now the Bucks on the board, and again, I mean, this is another one where maybe, I mean, we could see them potentially taking a wide receiver, but remember they let Carlton Davis go, so I could see, and they still have a defensive head coach. And Todd Bowles is going to have a large sway in what they do in the draft room. Jason Light, their GM, has been there for a long time. Like he's one of the low-key, longest tenured GMs in the league. And despite, they've done some good work in the draft, but obviously they had to bring in a ringer to be able to do anything with that team.
Duke offensive lineman Graham Barton.
Really? Mm-hmm. Wow. Interesting.
That's a Schultz report.
I just I love these last two picks because again, these are just guys that I did not expect the Chiefs to have. I mean, he's a center. So he's
third ranked interior offensive lineman
and number one center for Dane. So Dane separates guards and centers. Mm-hmm. Number one center in the draft, but like the Chiefs weren't going to take a center. Nope. So that's great.
The Chiefs have the number one center, not in the draft, but in the NFL. So they certainly don't need.
I love this for us, and
I do too.
I'm starting to get a little bit scared.
A little hopeful.
I'm starting to get a little bit scared because we've only got 5 picks left before the.
We've got the Cardinals, who we talked about having already taken Marvin Harrison and not interested in trading it or picking another wide receiver here. It doesn't make any sense for the Bills to move up to the Cardinal spot, so they're at that point. The Bills are now. Whoever the Bills
take. The Cardinals aren't going to take wide receivers. So the Bills are going to take somebody.
So the Bills have their pick unless the Chiefs can grab 27 right now, which I don't know if they will or want to. I think the way the board has fallen, if there was one guy left for the Chiefs,
if it's AD Mitchell or Worthy, right? If they have one guy that's in a different tier, right?
Yes. Otherwise, if they say we're good with AD Mitchell, we're good with Ladd McConkey, we're good with Xavier Worthy.
I mean, they've got 5 picks left and
3 guys
a lot of guys that we would be thrilled with.
Yes. Now, you've got to deal with the post-Bills picks of the Cowboys, Ravens, and Niners. We'll get to that. And as we said, the Niners certainly are motivated to probably pick a wide receiver that gives them a little bit of leeway with Debo and or Ayuk. But it's working well. I certainly would rather see a board like this than the board last year through the 25th pick, which was wide receiver. All the guys we wanted went back to back to back to back.
Right.
I think.
We're really worried about the Bills, And I think the Ravens and the Niners. Like, I don't think the Cowboys are taking a wide receiver. I don't think the Cardinals are taking a wide receiver.
So the Ravens,
I guess the wide receiver. I guess
went Zay last year in the first.
Yeah.
So I don't know if they're into doing back-to-back.
And they just extended Rashad Bateman,
right?
Which was a little bit interesting.
Right.
He obviously hasn't been able to stay healthy for them, and really hasn't produced that much when he's been on the field. But they must have liked something about him to extend him. So I mean, like that's 2 wide receivers, and then that's a team that's not running a ton of 3 wide receiver, 4 wide receiver, spread.
No, they just got Derrick Henry.
Right, exactly.
Like, they're definitely not going to try and, they have Nelson Aguilar also still on the roster. But he's
fine.
You're just thinking
he's fine. I'm thinking of the
Aguilar.
Of course. How could you not?
Right. They signed Deontay Hardy this offseason, a free agent pickup from Buffalo. So, like, I don't think the Ravens are interested in picking a first-round wide receiver 2 years in a row. Not really their style.
No, probably not. You're probably right. You're probably right. And they also don't.
Rashad Bateman was a first-round pick too.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
With our pick, that was the pick that we gave for Orlando.
So they picked him 21st overall and Zay Flowers 23rd overall a couple years later.
And he was a guy that I know our friend Dan Harms was very high on Rashad Bateman, and a lot of guys had Bateman, as like the wide receiver 2 or wide receiver 3 in that class.
They probably didn't think he'd have a running back thrown to him. So.
That's true. They probably didn't. And he also has had a hard time staying healthy. He was on my dynasty roster for a while, and I finally got rid of him last year.
So I think the Ravens is out. Owe was ours, is what Z-Man was saying. Udafe Owe from.
That may be.
I think that's right. I think Bateman was before because Orlando. We're talking about the Orlando trade.
Yeah.
The pick from that.
Chrissy
Orlando. Man, that was so I think Z-Man, I think you're right. That was the year before. I think Bateman had been around for a little bit. I am checking the I want to see who the Cowboys have right now because I purposely don't really pay a ton of attention to them. CeeDee Lamb, Brandon Cooks, Jalen Tolbert, Martavis Bryant still? Is that
that can't be right. They had him for a minute last year, but
I think he's still on their roster. Maybe they cut him.
I would be shocked if he was still on their roster. I think he lasted about 2 weeks because I remember taking a victory lap about this on X.
No, Martavis Bryant is an American football wide receiver for the Dallas Cowboys. They haven't got him yet.
Absolutely no way that Martavis Bryant is actually on the Cowboys roster. That can't be real. That's fake news.
Cowboys gonna go offensive lineman or linebacker, maybe. Sure.
That was one of my all-time favorite Raiders trades, by the way. Martavis Bryant, who was originally a 3rd round pick, if memory serves, a second or it was a 3rd or 4th round pick. And they traded whatever round he was originally picked in. The Raiders gave up a round higher to get him when he had 1 year left on his deal, and he wasn't good. It was like an all-time incredible trade, and then he was awful for the Raiders. They got suspended for doing weed or whatever it was he was being suspended for, and now he's been out of the league for 5 years, and now he's a Cowboy. So maybe they could take a wide receiver. Cardinals are taking Darius Robinson, defensive lineman from Mizzou.
I like it.
The Bills are on the clock.
Good for Darius Robinson to get a 1st round pick there, local kid, and Missouri kid, and that's okay. The Cards,
it is okay.
The Cards line is. I was thinking they had Chandler Jones, but no, he went to the Raiders and then went crazy.
Man, I got to tell you, the Broncos takes on Bo Nix are gonna propel the content machine for us. They're gonna fuel us.
Andrew
Mason tweets, sure, Bo Nix is QB6 in the draft, but Lamar Jackson was QB6 in 2018. And environment and coaching matters. Bo Nix will not be the 6th best QB among the 2024 draft picks.
Well, he's right about that.
The top reply is Dan Marino, QB6 in 1983. So, Lamar Jackson, Dan Marino, Bo Nix. Sure. What do those guys all have in common? He's also like fucking old as shit.
Yes.
And the track record of QBs over 24 is not good.
We could also pull every QB6 from every draft, and I bet you Lamar Jackson and Dan Marino are the outliers and not the norm.
1,000%.
Tom Brady was a 6th-round pick, dude.
I love this fun little situation here that I just will give out a shout out to on the pod. Somebody just liked one of my tweets, and he actually is the guy that married me and my wife back in 2016.
Nice.
Chase Peoples at the UCC Church in Brookside.
Shout out Chase.
Shout out Chase. He's probably not listening to the podcast, but
might be.
And he almost certainly doesn't know that he performed our ceremony when he followed me on Twitter, since I don't have my name up there.
Oh, he doesn't know it's you.
No, he doesn't.
Yeah.
But it's just,
okay. I thought you were like, hey, I'm on Twitter.
Some of the funny Twitter follows that I've gotten in the last couple of weeks, by the way, I don't know if I've run all these by you or mentioned them previously on the podcast, but while we're waiting for the Bills pick, Joe Exotic, the Tiger King, recently followed me on Twitter.
No.
Yes, he did.
That's such a good get.
About 2 weeks ago, which was really funny. The circumstances behind it are very funny. So
yes, did you engage with him in some way?
Yes, I did. And this was after OJ died, and he basically posted a, see you upstairs, brother, tweet about OJ, like in heaven. And I quote tweeted it with the gif of Magic Johnson doing, I'm not going to be here.
Yes. Yes.
Like OJ, when he sees this, is going to be like, dude, I'm not going to be here.
Extremely good.
And even though you could read that as being critical of Joe Exotic's tweet, he followed me after that. So now
he loved it, I'm sure.
The Tiger King follows me on Twitter.
He probably was being sarcastic.
Probably.
So that therefore, when he saw your reply,
but it's really hard to tell, because obviously he's an absurd character that dominated that first month of the pandemic lockdown for all of us. Tanner Tolbert, do you know Tanner Tolbert at all? You familiar? No. He is a Bachelor Nation person.
I thought that's who the Bills picked.
No,
he's
I'm still Bachelor. I'm still talking about my Twitter follows.
Okay. Is a follow of your. Okay, I got you now.
So Tanner, I don't know if we have any Bachelor fans in the chat or that listen to the show. I haven't been watching it as much lately because we've been more into Korean reality TV than American reality TV. It's a better reality to live in.
Who's been warned of this? Who's been warning you?
Oh, no. I'm just saying. So we've been watching more of that. Is kind of what we transitioned over to.
Got it.
Tanner was on The Bachelor, and then he was on Bachelor in Paradise, the spinoff show where there's an equal number of men and women. So, The Bachelor, The Bachelorette, it's all guys dating one girl and all girls dating one guy.
A group of
so Bachelor in Paradise is there's an relatively equal number. It's always slightly staggered. So there's, you have to get people eliminated. One week the girls have more, 1 week the guys have more.
They can't all just pair up and be happy.
All this to say that Tanner's from Kansas City. He's a huge Chiefs fan. He's got 100,000 followers. And he recently followed me on Twitter after I interacted with him. His wife, Jade Roper Tolbert, former Playboy model. She and Tanner are one of the, they're like the most all-time successable Bachelor couple, essentially.
They're the only ones that are still together out of
basically. I mean, actually, Bachelor in Paradise has a higher hit rate than the regular Bachelor and Bachelorette has like a 0% hit rate, essentially.
Absolutely.
I mean, that show has essentially never been successful.
Yeah.
But, in Bachelor in Paradise, you at least have a slightly more natural courting environment where you have, people can elect to pursue who they want to pursue as opposed to everybody going after one person. Anyway, do we have a Bills pick yet?
Bills in talks to move out of 28, not done yet, though, according to Jordan Schultz.
Oh, I mean, that would be, well, they're obviously they're not moving out with us.
No.
Texans, we heard the Texans.
But if the Bills move out of that pick, that's fine because we know they want a wide receiver. And so no matter who they get, who they trade with, maybe that team wants a wide receiver too, but they're not the Bills. Z-Man asked if he thinks
that the Bills wouldn't want to move out for a wide receiver.
I agree.
Like if they wanted a wide receiver that bad, that they wouldn't want to move down.
I agree.
Not behind us.
Z-Man asked if he thinks that if Joe Exotic thinks you are a real bird lawyer.
Yeah,
and
he probably does.
He
probably does think that.
He's the Tiger King.
Actually,
he's thinking, I got to get a bird lawyer on speed dial in case things go down.
Any kind of animal lawyer he probably thinks would be helpful to him.
He
and
probably
honestly,
is building a case.
Even if he thinks that I'm a real lawyer, which I am, he probably also thinks that would be helpful to him. And he probably would be helpful to him because he's he
has a better chance of you representing him if he follows you and interacts with you on Twitter.
True. He does.
And if he didn't.
It's still 0, but it's like 0 point whatever decimal point now that he's following me on Twitter, and it's very funny. So,
any other funny follows other than those two?
No, those were kind of the main ones.
Those are good.
I feel like I'm missing one, but I don't remember it off the top of my head.
Chiefs are trading up to 28 with the Bills.
No
Chiefs
way.
Are trading with the Bills.
Are you kidding?
Jordan Schultz just tweeted it. Yeah.
What?
So we're on.
What?
We're on the clock. Chiefs are on the clock. We're going to get a wide receiver. I can't believe the Bills traded with us.
The Bills traded their pick to us?
I can't believe it.
What?
Oh, my God. Why would they do that to themselves? We're going to get A.D. Mitchell here. It's going to be a wide receiver.
It's 1,000% going to be wide receiver.
Let's handicap it. 1, 2, 3 between Xavier Worthy, the fastest player in the draft. A.D. Mitchell, the overall, you think it's Ladd?
I don't think it's going to be Ladd. I think those are the three options. I think it's going to be A.D. Mitchell.
Okay, so you've got 81, Xavier 2, and Ladd 3.
Yeah.
I think I've got Xavier 1, 82, Ladd 3. I think Xavier Mitchell's more likely.
I can't believe they traded.
I'm so excited. That got me.
I bet we're going to take a tackle. I mean, we're going to get excited.
Why would we trade with the Bills to take a tackle? Why would we move up to 28?
Why would we trade with the Bills, period?
Well,
wow. I don't know. So Tyler Dunn.
Mahomes tweets smiley sunglasses face. But then maybe that's just because we did something.
I mean, and that could be a tackle.
And a tackle.
Either way. Tyler Dunn, who obviously is plugged in with the Bills, who just traded with the Chiefs, tweeted 15 minutes ago that the Chiefs were interested in Worthy.
That's right.
And Worthy would be fun.
Super fun.
Would be.
I think at this point of those three, I'm into all three of them. I'll be pumped if it's A.D. Mitchell. Yeah. I'll be pumped if it's Ladd.
It's going to be like Ricky Pearsallers.
And that's fine. I'm really into him. He's super athletic. He was a 9.9 reps.
But trading up.
Not probably for the first, not in 28th overall. But I love that we traded with the Bills because it's just going to work. You know it's going to work. You know whoever we bring in here is not going to be.
And we jumped Dallas, Baltimore, and San Francisco here.
Yep.
And if we just talked about it.
Yes.
San Francisco, for sure,
wide receiver need.
Could have taken a wide receiver.
Yep.
Dallas, one that could have taken a wide receiver. And
Baltimore probably would want to maybe try and block us. At least Baltimore would be motivated to take a wide receiver, if only to screw us. But Xavier Worthy.
Holy shit.
Xavier Worthy.
Man. That is so much fun.
Xavier Worthy.
Holy shit.
Guys, this is why we do it.
Man.
This is that feeling just there. That's good. That's some good stuff.
I can't believe that. That is incredible.
The fastest player.
The Bills let us trade up to take
the Bills trade picks 28, 133, and 248.
Ibity,
the
our guy
Chiefs
in the chat.
390, 32, 95, and 221 to Ibity Gibbity in our chat.
This is so cool.
So 95 is the third round pick, if I'm doing the math right. Yep. And so we traded a third to get a fourth, basically, as the rounds there. I
can't believe they traded with us. That's crazy. Dude, this is the thing is too, not only is Xavier Worthy great and the fastest player in combine history and a great wide receiver, but oh my God, this is going to make the entire NFL so angry.
Yes, at the Bills.
At the Bills and at us.
But mostly at the Bills because they let us do it.
Themselves and the rest of the NFL by trading with us.
Bills 3 times in the playoffs.
We cucked them.
We did.
Are cucking them over and over.
Yes.
That's the only way to describe it.
After we beat them the third time.
I don't want to be crass, but that is what's happening here. All right.
They said, what else would you like from us, Chiefs? We have already bent over for you a couple times, and I can't believe the Bills pulled that trigger. After the Bills also said that Stephon Diggs could go anywhere but Kansas City. So I wonder
and then they let us trade up for a wide receiver.
So here's what I wonder, because I don't know the answer to this, and maybe no one will ever know the answer. If the Bills and the Chiefs had a trade in place saying if the board falls the way we want to, a lot of these trades get negotiated before draft day, right?
I can't believe it.
The trades get negotiated before draft day sometimes, most of the time.
A lot. So it certainly calls.
You have to. Yes, exactly. So if the Bills and the Chiefs talked to each other a couple weeks ago, before the Diggs trade, and the Bills or the Chiefs said, "Hey, we've got a guy that we really want. That if 28 comes around, we're willing to give you a third and a pick swap late if we can move up 4 spots and pick our guy at 28. Is that okay?" And so then maybe the Bills said, Diggs, you can't go to the Chiefs because if you do, that would screw up our trade that we're planning on draft day.
That's an interesting idea.
So maybe it wasn't like a screw you Chiefs. Maybe it was like we've got some plans in place with them for wide receiver.
But my God, how could it not have been screw you Chiefs after everything we've done to them? After
Mahomes
everything we've done to them.
Man running emoji. This is extremely fun.
This is so much more fun than any of our first round picks in the Brett Veach era.
4.21 40, Austin.
Dude, I mean, he's literally the fastest player in the history of the NFL.
That's faster than Tyreek Hill's 40.
I know it. I know it is. I mean, wow. I can't believe this is. I mean, I shouldn't be surprised because what we've witnessed over the last 12 months with our Kansas City Chiefs. Yeah, that's right. He's pointing to his hat for the podcast listeners. His hat that says "It's Always Sunny in Chiefs Kingdom" on it. He's pointing to that. It is always sunny in Chiefs Kingdom. And it wasn't enough for us to win the Super Bowl last year and then have our tight end go out and date the most famous and successful woman in the world. And it wasn't enough for us to trade Tyreek Hill, win the Super Bowl, come back with a box of scraps, and then, barely squeak out, a division title, and then go on the road and beat the Bills again, and beat the Ravens in their house, and then beat the Niners again. It wasn't enough for us to do all of that. We then also trade up to get Xavier Worthy. Oh my God.
And you know what? When the Chiefs thought Tyreek Hill was going to be gone for a while and they drafted McCole Hardman, and then Tyreek Hill wasn't gone for a while, and the Chiefs just had McCole Hardman, even though McCole Hardman did not turn out to be who we maybe thought he could have been, right? It was still a situation where the Chiefs ended up with more wide receivers than they were planning on in worst case scenario because their guy didn't get as bad of a suspension as they thought. If Rashee Rice, let's say he gets 6 games or whatever he ends up getting, he's going to come back and be on a team with Hollywood Brown and Xavier Worthy. That's a pretty good 1, 2, 3. The Chiefs went from.
That's really good.
The Chiefs went from.
And I mean, by the way, Travis Kelce still exists.
Oh, yeah, the GOAT. Yeah, yeah. And of course, we've got Luis Rees-Zammit.
I mean, it's going to be, dude.
It's going to be fun.
It's going to be really fun. Plus, I mean, listen, like the supporting cast, like we'll probably have to break this down on a future podcast. This is all off the cuff, and we're doing this live. And I have to think about this more to be super confident in saying this. This might be the best offensive supporting cast that Mahomes has ever had. I mean, listen, 2018 would be the one that jumps off the head because he's got prime Tyreek, he's got prime Travis, he's got Sammy Watkins. He had Kareem Hunt for part of that year.
Yes,
but even then, we didn't have this version of Patrick Mahomes.
Nope.
I mean, that was the raw MVP schoolyard Mahomes scramble.
Yes,
MVP Mahomes. This version of Patrick Mahomes with this supporting cast.
I'm just saying,
it's crazy.
It's crazy. Back on the table.
It's crazy what it is.
And look, I definitely think that if the Chiefs had drafted another position here or something, it's still things were going to be fine for the Chiefs next year. Obviously. But to go out and get a guy like Worthy that, as I said, has elite one skill that's better than everyone else's version. I mean, that's why Tyreek, now as great as Tyreek is, and he can jump and he, all that stuff. The fact that he is faster than anyone else on the field is such a game breaker in itself. The one factor.
I mean, the gravitational pull of a player with that kind of speed, we saw it when Tyreek was on the Chiefs. And it also, I mean, the dynamic, like it's one thing for a player like that to exist in the NFL, and it's helpful no matter it's helpful no matter who you are, right?
Yep.
But when you have Andy Reid and you have Patrick Mahomes and you have Travis Kelce, I mean, that kind of player becomes, I mean, as it was with Tyreek, like league-breakingly good. Like we're forgetting that
Correct.
The entire league, the reason the entire league plays the coverages that it does now, the reason the entire league has moved to zone and cover 2 is because of Tyreek and Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid and Travis Kelce. But it's so funny that the Chiefs were like, "Oh, yeah, we traded away Tyreek Hill, and now we're going to get Tyreek Hill again." I mean,
and
I'm not
also
saying that
win
he's
2
Tyreek
Super
Hill.
Bowls between trading him away and getting
Right.
the next
We're
one.
going to trade Tyreek Hill, win 2 Super Bowls, and then get Tyreek Hill again.
It's just silly. This was really fun and good.
What do we
Z-Man asks,
what do we do with our hands now? Do we keep streaming? Like, I guess we go to the end of the first round.
Sure, yeah, we've got a little bit more time. Z-Man says the Raiders are going to try and figure out if Brock Bowers can play zone. Like,
that's pretty good.
People are going to need some help, man.
This is going to be even more fun for sports talk radio in my local market.
Oh my God, morning. Bo Nix to the Broncos and Xavier Worthy to the Chiefs. If those aren't about as good as we could have asked for.
I mean, it's incredibly funny. Bills fans must be furious. Like,
what were they thinking?
Did they think that we were going to take? I mean, did they think we were going to take like a tackle? Did they like? I am legitimately interested to know. Obviously, teams don't have to and have no reason to divulge which player they're going to take. No. However, if you're trading away the pick, and especially if you are the Buffalo Bills, giving the pick away to the Kansas City Chiefs, the team that has cuffed you 3 times in the playoffs in the last 5 years. I mean, I if I'm Brandon Beane, I'd at least be like, so who are you taking, Brett? Like, what are you up to, Brett? What you doing with this pick, Brett? And I don't think there's an answer if I'm Brandon Beane that could have satisfied me that would have convinced me to give the pick away to the Chiefs. Like,
I agree with you.
I just don't understand.
And it's not like they way overpaid from what I can see. It was a pretty typical.
I mean, they only had to go up 4 picks. They didn't.
Well, but I mean the other stuff.
Well, sure. I know.
I love Warren Sharp. Josh Allen doesn't need someone like this. In fact, the Bills should just give him to the Chiefs.
Yeah,
they've got to be so mad. I would be. And the other thing, Bills trading back to 32 to see what it feels like to win a Super Bowl.
Yikers! That's incredible. That's
yes, that was extremely good. The Bills also better nail.
Cowboys take Tyler Guyton at 29.
Okay, who cares? The Bills better nail 32.
And I win the draft, by the way, because I had.
You did. Well done. I'm still.
There's always a chance. Maybe we'll swoop one of these guys in the second round and salvage a tie.
It probably won't be any of the 5 wide receivers.
What's his name is still out there.
Yes,
tackle, the fat guy, the big one.
I always forget his name. Jets guy, Mekhi Becton.
Yeah, Mekhi Becton.
He is, and I could then pick up well, you're already up 1-0 on Hollywood, so I would have to tie you with Mekhi Becton by getting him. And then get hopefully like Kingsley. No, he's not going to be in the second. Ricky Person. No, we're not going to pick a wide receiver. I had Keon Coleman.
Yeah, you went very wide receiver heavy, and you struck out on the wide receiver. I mean, I had
Amarius Mims as one of my tackles, and Kingsley.
Was the other one. Maybe Kingsley could drop down. I mean, we'd have to trade up again. I don't think he's definitely not going to be there at 64, but we could potentially, turn around and swoop and move back up and get a tackle. And
sure.
I mean, what if we do swoop tomorrow and we move back up and take a tackle and we get the wide receiver of the future, we get the tackle in the future. That would be a fun situation.
Z-Man, can you explain? He said over the cap has the total trade value as the last pick in draft even trade. Oh, so even trade with just the last pick in the draft being like a toss in maybe so basically Chiefs paid exactly market value to move up from 32 to 28. That would make sense. The last thing I would expect was the Bills to fleece the Chiefs. That's never going to happen. So, yeah, Bills gained value of the last pick of the draft. I got you. Okay. So, I mean, that's...
Hey, the last pick in the draft could be anybody. It could even be Brock Purdy. So
it could be Brock Purdy, and the Bills probably hope that it's Brock Purdy so that they can replace their bum
Sure, they can replace Josh Allen. I mean, Josh Allen, at this point, I'd be requesting a trade. I'm just saying. Man, I mean, if you're if you're Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes is beating you 3 times in the playoffs, and then your team trades with the Chiefs so that they can get Xavier Worthy, and I mean, we'll see who the Bills take at 32. Obviously, it's possible that it's crazy to me. So surely the Bills had to know we were trading up for wide receiver. which to me, like now I'm questioning whether the Bills will take a wide receiver at 32, because why would you take that risk? I mean, it could be that they like three guys the same. Maybe they like A.D. Mitchell, Xavier Worthy, and Lab McConkey the same. Those are three really different wide receivers, though. I mean, like three completely different guys in terms of their skill set. So you don't have a lot of redundancy there. So it would be a little bit weird to me if the Bills were just willing to gamble that the Chiefs weren't going to take their wide receiver and then turn around and take a different wide receiver at 32. That seems downright reckless. Now, it could be what they did, but man, now I'm really curious to see who they take, because this is so funny. I just I'm actually beside myself that we actually did trade up and get the fastest wide receiver in the history of the NFL coming.
It's fun. It's really fun. And he is extremely productive in college. He had the third most wide receiving yards in the last 2 seasons in college football. So, like, it's not like he's a gadget guy. He's not a project. He's not a raw, we know he's fast, but he's only played wide receiver for a season or whatever. Like, this is something.
You'll love this. Tyler Dunn tweeted this.
Got Nate Wiggins.
Interesting. Yeah, okay. Tyler Dunn tweeted this about Xavier Worthy. This is an excerpt from the scouting report. He talked to some NFL scouts about this. Immediately, you have so much hidden production because every single defensive coordinator in the NFL is scared of one thing: a guy getting behind the defense. Yeah. If Worthy's on the field, you're backing the fuck up, and it's a Tyreek kill fest opening up the middle of the field all day long. He's a true Z that can run by anybody in the NFL. I put him behind Waddle coming out, but ahead of Marquise Brown. I mean, behind Waddle coming out, Waddle was the wide receiver. He was the wide receiver 2, and he went with the 6th overall pick behind Jamar Chase in that draft. So, like, okay, he's maybe not as good as Jalen Waddle was coming out. Jalen Waddle was like amazing.
Yes, and plus, anytime you add players to a team, like, you're talking about what it does to the overall team and the impact of that team having that player. It's not just raw. Like, if the Chiefs had gotten Jalen Waddle in this draft at this point, like, they're going to be way better than they were before that. It doesn't really matter about his production in, like, the grand scheme of NFL wide receivers. It's about a fit that the Chiefs needed. They had a need at wide receiver and a need for speed. I love the pick. I love everything about it. I love that they were aggressive and they traded up. I love that they traded up with the Bills. I love that maybe more than I even love the pick. I think
that is like the equivalent of John Elway presenting the Super Bowl trophy.
It is. It's like the
draft equivalent of that.
Of the Bills trading the Chiefs the 10th overall pick and the Chiefs selecting Patrick Mahomes. It's pretty similar to that.
We haven't even mentioned that yet. Has there ever been one franchise cucked more by another franchise in the history of the league? And then the answer almost has to be no, although, I mean, like, certainly, like, excluding division rivalries where you're playing that team twice a year, like, these teams don't even play each other.
Correct. They end up playing each other a lot because they finish in the division a lot. But, like, Cincinnati lost 2 Super Bowls to San Francisco. San Francisco lost 2 Super Bowls to the Chiefs. I mean, losing head-to-head Super Bowls.
Trades.
The Bills lost back-to-back Super Bowls to the Cowboys. But
that's crazy.
I almost think that 13 seconds by itself,
yeah, sure, definitely,
at least weighs as much as a Super Bowl victory head-to-head with a team. Like, that was such a gut-wrenching experience for the Bills to think that they won the game only to have it stolen from them. Or they lost it. They fumbled it. And then they lost an AFC championship game to the Bills, and then they lost a game in their house. It's been magical to own them so hard for so many years now. And it's almost funnier to me that the Chiefs have lost regular season games to the Bills. It's almost funnier than if the Chiefs had beaten them. If the Chiefs were 7-0 against the Bills in the Josh Allen era, you could just be like, well, we're never going to beat them. There's one team. Right. But, like, the Bills have proven that they can come into Arrowhead when the game doesn't matter and whoop the shit out of the Chiefs. Yeah. And then as soon as the game is on the line and it matters.
You're going to love this. Z-Man just tagged me on Twitter, tagged both of us on Twitter. Jordan Schultz tweets, text from an AFC GM on the Chiefs getting Xavier Worthy. Fuck me.
Man. I mean.
I can't wait, and I appreciate everyone that's in the live chat with us. I can't wait to consume all the rest of the content. And once you guys are done watching our live stream, I release you to enjoy other people's content as well. I can't wait to listen to, all the live shows, all the recaps, the podcasts, the local coverage here in Northern Colorado. I just, this is so fun. Like, even if it doesn't work out, and like it probably will, but we should probably acknowledge that the guy's like 160 pounds and he's small and he's weak, he's a little guy, but
look, Sky didn't work out. Clyde didn't work out. It's not the
track record of this franchise developing wide receivers is not that great, but
or even skill position players. I mean,
sure.
It's not about the future of Xavier Worthy's career right now. Right now, it's about the hilarity of the circumstances of the pick and what it could be. There's a chance that Xavier Worthy is Devontae Smith. Like, he doesn't have to be Tyreek Hill to be extremely good. There's plenty of wide receivers out there that would make the Chiefs a ton better that don't have to be the best wide receiver of all time in order for that to happen. Andy Reid saying Worthy will do returns as well. Per Aaron Ladd. Thanks, Marvin, for that.
Interesting. Calls him a heck of a football player. I could have told you that.
I certainly knew that. Absolutely. Oh, let's read some Xavier Worthy analysis just for fun for anyone that. Okay, so Kansas City KCSN Draft Guide has him as a second round grade. I think we all knew getting late in the first round, most of the guys remaining were second round
they're
grades.
Also pretty conservative on their grades. I mean,
they are. Yep, they're not going to.
Depending on which outlet you go with, KCSN is like many draft graders in that they try and sort of emulate what teams are doing grading. And
that's correct.
Teams every year will have like 15 first round grades.
That's right. They had him as wide receiver 7. Strengths. Worthy is an electric factory. That's a great first. Electric factory.
I love it.
He's exciting with the ball in his hands, but he also shows off elite movement without the ball, which I love. And within his route tree as well. He can go from 0 to 60 in a heartbeat, but can also throttle down when needed and understands route tempo and how that will aid him gaining separation. Does a great job of getting corners to commit and then creating space at the top of his route with his raw explosive ability. Worthy plays the position with a good feel and does a great job of tracking the ball vertically. He has the ability to make up for poorly placed deep balls and will help his quarterback out.
To the 49ers, by the way.
Interesting. All right. Well, he was a first round pick. That's a white corner. He has the rare. This back to Xavier Worthy.
Can't wait for Xavier Worthy to toast him in the Super Bowl.
Correct. He has the rare ability to attack the field vertically from the slot as well as from the outside. Worthy is a threat to score anytime he touches the ball, and defenses have to account for him on every play. That's the sentence there that sounds like Tyreek Hill the most. The home run hitting potential is clearly off the charts. Can take a 5-yard screen the distance one play and run behind your defense.
That's really fun too.
Choppy, quick feet at the line of scrimmage, as well as at the top of the route, has shown the ability to be a plus route runner and will only continue to develop in that area. Natural catcher of the football. That is also extremely big given the Chiefs' recent struggles. Does not give up on plays and has a knack for working back to the quarterback on second reaction plays. He sounds like the perfect fit to me. He sounds like the perfect wide receiver that's ever played football. They have a little bit of weaknesses. I am not in the mood to read them. That's fine. He's skinny. And he's small.
He's small. He's small.
That's fine. How he fits. The KCSN draft team asked a writer that covers a team other than the Chiefs who would be the scariest player KC could take in the upcoming draft from an outsider's perspective. He said, without hesitation, Xavier Worthy. He's more than just a track guy. He would be deployed as a role similar to Mecole Hardman, except Worthy has more of that natural traits to make wide receivers truly dangerous. Team fit high. Player comp for them, Deshaun Jackson, which makes sense given the speed. Of course, you've got to pick a guy that's high top end speed.
Right.
Just as exciting and electric of a pick as they could have.
Let me hit you with Dane's strengths and weaknesses. He had Xavier Worthy as his wide receiver 10, so a little bit lower on him than KCSN and a little bit lower than some other outlets out there. But strengths, explosively fast with the sprinter's top end speed, crisp and sudden out of his route cuts, quickly eats up cushion and forces defensive backs to honor his deep speed, allowing him to break off quarterback-friendly curls and comebacks. We know the Chiefs will love that. Tracks the deep ball well, can make the first man miss with his start-stop athleticism, and that's something that you like to see on tape. We talked about this a couple weeks ago, either when we were doing our draft or maybe when we first sort of discussed Xavier Worthy. He didn't do the agility testing numbers. But like if you watch the tape, I just don't feel like there's really any concerns there, right? Like it's always, I mean, I don't want to say it's always a red flag when a guy doesn't test in something because, I mean, Marvin Harrison Jr. didn't test in anything. Like guys just aren't testing as much anymore.
It's not as big of a deal.
We've got GPS, we've got tape.
It was not Cooper DeJean. It was
what?
Ricky
Really?
Pearsall.
I got cut. I got caught.
We did. And the Bills traded away 32 to the Panthers.
What?
So the Bills didn't even get a first-round pick.
I have to go delete this tweet. I tweeted about them going against each other in the Super Bowl, and I got caught. That's crazy.
Marvin pointed out that you got that caught. So, Marvin, you've been on top of it, bud. Good work.
Ricky Pearsall, interesting.
He is,
well, we were right.
9.9 RAS for Ricky Pearsall. He is athletic freak.
We were right that the Niners were taking a wide receiver. So
yes, which gives them, definitely trade potential for the other two.
I legitimately feel bad for Bills fans because, well, hear me out. Not only did they trade back and give us the pick that we used to draft Xavier Worthy, but they're not even picking tonight. So they get to go to bed tonight.
Get a first-round pick.
They get to go to bed tonight thinking about how they gave us the fastest wide receiver.
We are their draft pick on night one of the draft. It is the Chiefs took a player that I'm sure they all wanted. I'm sure tons of Bills fans were fired up to get Josh Allen.
Oh my God, Josh Allen, his whole approach to the too high thing was like throw it 70 yards,
Yes.
Mahomes became the dink and dunk king, and I'm gonna learn how to just take what the defense gives me. Josh Allen was just like fuck it, Gabe Davis down there somewhere.
Yeah.
And I'm sure they would have loved Xavier Worthy.
And now Gabe Davis is gone, and Stephon Diggs is gone, and Xavier Worthy's a Chief, and they don't have a first-round pick, and they've lost 3 playoff games to the Chiefs. I mean,
that's tough.
And they cut all those guys. They cut all their defense
for the Panthers.
So another wide receiver. So it went wide receiver. Yes,
Brett Veach knows what he's doing, man.
He absolutely, in Veach we trust. That was such a thrilling first round. That was so hilarious. That was. I don't know if it could have fallen much better for the Chiefs in almost any way. I think the Broncos was hilarious, to recap this. I know the Broncos was hilarious.
I mean, that was the funniest. I mean,
the Bills was the funniest.
The Falcons was
the craziest pick.
It was, but we don't care about the Falcons
at all.
Whatever.
At all.
They're a sideshow and completely irrelevant to us.
Yes, correct.
That's pretty good. The Bills and the Broncos being like the 2 funniest AFC, things that took place. Being, a division rival. And
I mean, the Chargers took a tackle. The Raiders picking Brock Bowers was probably my least favorite pick of the draft from just a purely I like Brock Bowers a lot. And
sure. And he's a good player, but the history of tight ends going in the top of the first round is not good.
And the history of anybody going to the Raiders is also not good.
Boom. And that's it's hard to top that as an ender to the show. So I mean, man, I don't think we could top that. This has been a blast. Any closing thoughts?
My closing thoughts are that I love the live draft show. We will do it forever. And it's since the day we started this podcast, one thing was true then, has been true the whole time, and remains true today. It is always sunny in Chiefs Kingdom.